Hello, everyone. I'm Bernardo Precht. I'm physician and founder of Medicina. This is a special edition of our podcast, The Future of Medicine, and I'm really excited about today's guest. We have the pleasure of speaking with Philippe Gerwill, who just delivered an amazing presentation here at Esse Summit. Thank you, Philippe, to be here.
Thank you for the invitation, and it was an amazing audience also,
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. And I would like to start with a quote that I saw on your LinkedIn. You can stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf.
Yeah.
How can we translate that to the medical context right now?
Again, I have this quote since quite some time. Usually you change the quote. I'm not changing that quote because I love it. And if you talk about the medical context, I think in the medical context, the waves are even bigger.
Yeah, a tsunami, right?
Yeah, so you have to be a very good surfer,
Yeah, a big rider.
yeah, a big rider, and as I said, how long are we going to continue to see, these big waves and not doing something about it? Just wait that they will not become smaller by themselves if you don't do something, So I think it's really, I mentioned before, different topics saying it's burning, hospital is burning, the healthcare is burning, so we cannot continue like that, because each time you think it's not becoming worse and it's becoming worse, population is aging, we have less doctors, and population is aging, but aging not healthy. I think that started the discussion we had, about health span, longevity, and all that. So we have to do something to change the trend, And again, I'm that's also why they call me a digital humanist. I'm a fan of doctors and all that, but we don't have enough. So we have to help them, So help them with the digital tools and all that, so that they can do what they do better, what humans do better, So I believe that there is empathy and all that kind of stuff, and every doctor is different, every patient is different, and again, AI cannot do everything, but simple things, AI can do to remove the burden, from the doctors.
Yeah, I want to zoom in the discussion on that quote, hospital is burning. What do you mean with that?
So, first of all, as a patient, when you hear words like, okay, productivity is okay, rentability and all that kind of stuff, sometimes it's hurting you, but you have to accept the reality that we have more and more hospital closing. I mentioned also in my talk, even Brazil, the number of hospital, the number of beds is going down. And that's not normal, and that's just happening because they don't make enough money.
And the costs are rising.
And the point is, that's exactly that. We should address that point, why the costs are rising, and AI, digital tools and all that can help to reduce that cost. Because at the end, yes, I also understand, you don't want to lose money when you are in a company, the same for the hospital, but the criteria must still be the patient, to treat the patient, and then you have to look how you can reduce cost. And I still believe you can reduce cost. As I said, there is so much inefficiency in the process, in the hospital and all that, in terms of, as I said, department not talking to each other. I also heard one day about, in France, they call that the Christmas package, because when a patient is not making money anymore in one department, they packed it, they put it in the elevator to the next department, and the next department opens the package and then is surprised that there is nothing inside, So they push from one service to the other because they don't make money anymore. So it's not about the patient, it's the focus is still more money,
What do you think that are possible quick wins for that? How can we leverage technology to increase the efficiency and providing a better care for our patients?
I think the point is, focus, for example, of the point of care. So whatever you can do, not in the hospital, you can do at home. And again, and the patient will embrace that, because I said, the patient doesn't like to go to the hospital. They have
nobody likes it.
So they doesn't want to, and they want to go earlier back home, So if you can do a lot of the pre or post op and all these things at home, then you can reduce. I gave the other example about myself. I have chronic diseases, so I have to go every 3 months to my GP to get my prescription, and to do some check. But these automatic check don't make sense anymore. I'm connected. I can send my my ECG, my heart rate, and everything to the doctor, and I only go when it's needed. But we do still it's like your car. You go every 20,000 whatever to the garage, but if the car is okay, why you have to go to the garage? So today we have captors, we have sensor, we can give you this information to the doctor, and then you go when it's needed.
And we are shifting from curative medicine to a preventive medicine. How do you think AI is going to change the relationship with our gadgets, with our wearables and everything to help us on that mission?
So I think the key point is that there's a lot of amount of new data then, with wearables and all that. So you need this information to be able to do preventive care, to have all these signals, all these early warnings and whatever. But again, the cost you mentioned before is still a challenge. That's what I gave as an example during my talk, who is going to pay for a 20 years old guy for a cancer test and he has no symptom?
Yeah.
But we know that maybe we can do an early detection and then there's a saving in the cost afterwards. But nobody, no insurance, whatever, is going to put the money, the bet on that on the table. So the whole model today needs to change, and that's the issue. We have this whole ecosystem which needs a little bit to be shuffled. But shuffling these big players, between the pharma,
the incentives,
the insurance and all that, it's a challenge. And that's why there are some amazing programs like NEOM in Saudi, where they will focus on wellness, So, but that's a greenfield. They build a city from nothing. So you can bring all the new stuff and nobody is telling you that you have to take also the same ecosystem and the same forces. You can maybe do it different, but in a brownfield system it's difficult to change that. We are even not going to the lobbying discussion, the lobbying, between the pharma, between the doctors and all that, when you go to the parliament and all that stuff, that's also something we underestimate, the power of those lobbyists.
And how doctors could influence that, how doctors could help to improve the system and to, making things easier for the patients?
I think it's a very good question for something else, because I'm afraid that the situation with the doctors and even the reputation is deteriorating.
Yeah.
Actually in France had a good system, for healthcare, I would say 30 years ago, and they didn't change it. And now it's outdated and now it's difficult to change. Like a consultation with the GPs was around 20 euros. In other countries, 60, 70, 100, So now they have to fight to get 2 more euros. And the people are not used to that because they say it's a 10% increase.
Yeah.
But because for years we have not changed that. So now the government is actually negotiating to increase that under the condition that the doctors prescribe less antibiotics and some other drugs. So what does that mean? That we don't trust the doctor? So you think the doctor is just prescribing antibiotic because he gets an incentive or the antibiotics, whatever? So I was just saying, there is also a start of a mistrust in the doctor, And the mistrust is coming, for example, from government, but it's also coming from people. Let's say they Google, Dr. Google and all that, so they know better than the doctor what.
And now we have Dr. GPT, right?
Yeah,
That's way stronger.
Yeah, and that's the point. It's still about education. I was on holidays last week with my family, and my granddaughter got sick. She got fever. We didn't know what, and. My wife, my daughter, maybe she's the ear, maybe it's that and all that. And finally, we were still lucky in Sardinia, to get within 3 hours, we got an appointment with the pediatric doctor locally there, which was quite good, on the island. And I told my wife and my daughter, don't tell the doctor what you think she has. Let the doctor do his diagnosis, and it was something different. But
there you go.
But that's the point, I also, before I check also ChatGPT, Google, but then I still go to the doctor and I shut up.
Yeah.
I let him do his job. And then I say, okay, it's very close to what I read. But initially, let him do his job,
Because otherwise you're gonna influence him or giving them a kind of pressure. So
Yeah, I had a former boss in one of the company I worked before. He said, if he would have the choice, he would go to a veterinary, not to a doctor, because the veterinary, the animals are not talking to him.
Yeah.
So he have to be good in making the diagnosis, because they are not talking to him.
Oh, that I never heard about that, but that's a good point. That's a good point. And you talk a lot about metaverse. You're yes, a great fan of this kind of new technology. Do you think metaverse is going to replace telemedicine?
Regarding telemedicine, it's just going to be another environment, rather than just being something small, it's going to be an immersive environment. Because it's, as I mentioned, in some of the tools I mentioned that I'm opening every morning, why do I have to open 5 tools? Why can I have one place? And again, think about the metaverse more being like the new internet. It's 3D instead of being 2D. Before we did this kind of website where you have multiple links, and you can click. Now it's just going to be something more immersive, and then you can. But it's for me, it's just the new internet,
And what do you think are the advantage for the patients and for the doctors to use this kind of new technology?
So I think again, I touch it slightly because we don't talk enough about it. But for example, blockchain. So the whole security that blockchain is bringing, because you cannot delete the data. It's quite safe. Theoretically you could probably still hack, but in the reality it's very difficult because the chain is moving. Each time you add something, until the time somebody can decode one piece of the chain, the next piece is coming. So I think from a security point of view, it should be better. But again, I'm still saying today we still have a challenge of performance, because it's time consuming, because it's a lot of graphic and all that. But you see at which speed things like NVIDIA and all that is moving, So for me, it's like the memory sticks,
Yeah.
So it's increasing from the capacity, and also the price is going down, So these things are going to happen,
Yeah, we have a lot of doctors here in our audience, and a lot of them probably are not familiar with blockchain. Can you explain, like in few minutes, what is blockchain and how this could impact medicine?
Yeah. So I think it's a very interesting question because, I took blockchain already in 2017, but I was always fighting and saying, I'm not talking cryptocurrency. Because for many people, blockchain was Bitcoin, So I think it's like I say, metaverse is not meta, So we have sometimes to correct some misinformation, So for me, blockchain is more the piece, so everything is encrypted. So that's what I'm saying, these are like pieces of chain linked together. And when somebody adds something, it's all encrypted. So it's very difficult to hack it, and so it's safe from that point of view. But there is also the whole traceability, immutability. You cannot change it. So it's a very safe protocol. Now the problem is, and that's why your question is coming, I think maybe sometimes I have the feeling we talk too much about it, because it's just the new internet, as I said, is Web3, is blockchain. Before you had, the normal internet 2D with HTML. Did we talk so much about HTML? So they're saying we're becoming too technical, and exactly, should a doctor really know what is blockchain, or should he just know
how
that
is that going to change my life? That's what doctors are questioning themselves.
And that's the point. I think we talk too much, and I had the challenge in the early years that basically you had to teach to the C-level to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's a huge task, again, what you say in terms of education and knowledge sharing and all that, for something maybe that they don't really have to know.
Yeah, we're seeing the early adopters.
And again, it's a misinformation because, for the C-level, it was Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do Bitcoin in healthcare or...
And how do you connect the dots, right? And about AI, we are talking about AI in the AFE Summit and in a lot of other places. Could you outline a kind of blueprint for medical professions to incorporate AI into their daily basis activities?
Yes, I think again it's a very good question. Of course, everybody's talking AI, every conference and all that, and they are also sure they are also some people using AI for the wrong thing. Like they have AI, it's not AI. So everybody has today to claim AI so that people listen to them, but maybe what they do is normal algorithms, whatever is not just AI. So it's also a selling argument. But I think, as I mentioned, there are two things. They are the simple cases and the more complex. So don't talk too much now about the more complex, which is, as I said, all these genomics, predictive, huge database, getting new insights, for discovering new treatments that we have not seen as a human being before, because you cannot analyze all that. And they are good success story, like that. I have a friend of mine, Alex Avonkov. He's the founder of In Silico Medicine. So In Silico Medicine is doing amazing stuff, also creating clinical trials and all that, But people don't know. He started the company 10 years ago. It's not something that happened now, so these are the whole things.
That's a long journey.
And now the results are coming, But for the simple stuff, again, it's about your daily use of it. I mentioned just before, like in my presentation, all the pictures have been done by Midjourney.
Yeah.
Before I had to go to surf to check if I have to pay royalties, if not, and all that. Now Midjourney, I have no royalties. I give a prompt, I get the picture better than what I had before, and it's saving me time, productivity. I'm gaining productivity with simple stuff like that. So I think for the doctor is the same. There is a lot of things. I said, on one side is doing emails and stuff like that, but it's a lot also about automation, And of course there is a challenge because of these different systems. There is no integration. Not everybody is using the same systems. You have done an amazing job at AFIA. For you, 262,000 doctors and medical students that are using your application. What about the others?
Yeah.
They have many different systems. And a patient may go from a doctor that is with AFIA to a doctor that is not with AFIA. And then the medical record is not there. They have to redo everything, And for me, for example, traveling, it's crazy, It's, for example, Turkey. Turkey is 110 million people. Turkey, they have implemented in the whole country one system, electronic records and everything.
I didn't know that.
So one director from a hospital showed me when he was in Dubai, he showed me that. So everything is there, the medication, everything what it takes. So yes, if something happens to you in Dubai, you go there, you show them that, and they have all the information. If I go, they have nothing. So I think that whole exchange of information, at least between doctors, I'm not saying patients, everybody should know, but the doctor should get the information. I'm living in France at the border with Germany and Switzerland. So actually I can go to the doctor because I worked in Switzerland before, but I can go to Switzerland or France. So one day, when I started to have hypertension, I decided to go to the cardiologist in Switzerland because it was closer to my workplace. So I just got 10 minutes rather than... So when I went there, I was lucky, I went to, it was the head of the cardiology department. And I told him, do you have access, to my record in France? He said, no, but it's not important. So in 1 hour, I did all the tests again. So of course, because he was the boss, in 1 hour, all the tests was great. But he lost all my history.
Yeah.
So that's the point, it's 10 kilometers away. Within 10 kilometers, I'm using all my records. Recently, I had a funny story. Not recently, last winter, I went for the flu shot, the normal flu shot, which I never did before. But my wife pushed me because I'm at risk, and with the COVID and all that. The last COVID shot I got the COVID shot on one side and the flu on the other. So I'm doing it because I'm not sensitive to that. I can do. But the previous process was that you go to the pharmacy, you get your vaccine box, you put it in the fridge, and then 1 or 2 days later, you go to the doctor, and the doctor does the injections. So with COVID, of course, they learned that you can do it in the pharmacy. So when I went to get my vaccine, the pharmacy said, yeah, but we can do it now if you want. So I said, okay, give it to me. So they did the shot. And then I went back home, and then I said, oh shit, I have no information about which batch and whatever. And we have also something, I think it's the third trial in France to do what they call kind of electronic record, dossier médical partagé.
Okay.
So some doctors or some lab, they put the data in, some not. So you have to check, sometimes it's manually. So when I went there was of course nothing about my injections. So I called the pharmacy again and I told them I was there, 10 minutes ago, but I have no label, nothing about the batch I got. So the lady said, can you wait 2 minutes? So I was waiting. Then she came back. I said, are you lucky? We just emptied the trash before you came. So the last box in the trash is your vaccine. So you see, my information about the right batch that I got depends if they empty the trash or not.
That's crazy, right?
And indeed, it's a barcode, they can just read it. To put it out of the inventory, they read the barcode, but to put it on your record, they don't do,
About AI tools that you use in your daily basis, which of them do you think are the most useful for doctors?
That's another issue also, because, for example, there are a few in the US that are not actually accessible in other countries. So it's always, all these
No problems.
about, so of course ChatGPT, but then you have Bard, you have many different ones there. Now even I'm surprised, there's even a French one now, Mistral.
Yeah, it's huge.
So I think it's still, again, the competition is good, because it's not always the same being ahead, so the competition is triggering a lot of stuff like that. I cannot really judge from a doctor, because again, I'm a patient. So I'm more seeing the other side. So I use it, for example, I got recently a surgery and I got, the medical reports. That's another point, as a patient, sometimes it's Chinese what is written for you,
Yeah.
So you can ask, ChatGPT, to explain that in a more understandable language, can even ask for 12 years old boy, So sometimes I do that, For example, I did this report. I asked not only to make it simpler, but also to translate in French so that my wife can understand, because it was initially in German. So things like that is
the language barrier is off.
You never had that before, So I think that's a lot of the things, So I think.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of use case on presentations as well. You have a lot of different apps coming by, like Gamma app that creates a full presentation from text-based. Yeah.
But the thing is also, I use it a lot because I said I'm not native English, so even on LinkedIn, I'm posting a lot on LinkedIn. Usually I write a post and I put it into ChatGPT or Mistral and I say, improve the post, and the thing is, at the same time, you're learning.
Yeah, of course.
Because what
you're comparing.
Yeah, but what you improve the next time you have the words. And I see now, then when I put to ChatGPT, there are less and less changes because my English also improved.
Yeah, but don't you think right now the output of ChatGPT and other LLMs are kind of robotic? You can notice, this looks like GPT.
But I think it's back to the point about prompt engineering.
There you go.
It's up to you to not accept the first version and to say
iterate,
change.
Right?
Exactly. And that's, I still think a lot of people don't iterate enough, because it's still to bring your personal touch, because I had a funny post a few months ago. There was a friend, from she's Spanish, but she's living in Abu Dhabi. She was putting a post, saying she put a few words what she said. Yeah, everybody knows that if those words are in the text, it's ChatGPT. And I told her, it's so naive what you write, because I just have to take those words and say, ChatGPT, don't use those words, and he will not use those words, So I think it's learning to also...
how to ask questions, right? Yeah. Do you have any kind of framework that you use when you're using GPT, or are you going to start with context and then I'm going to provide some data or something like this?
It's many things like that, sometimes I write directly in ChatGPT, even the text, and I said improve, sometimes I copy the text for somewhere else. Emails, answering emails,
Answering emails,
you
way
take
easier.
A complex email, you give just the email and you say, can you help me answer that, and I had an example where, I was working for an Indian company as a consultant, and they paid me 6 months. They paid me a retainer fee so that I'm not leaving.
Okay.
And after 2 or 3 months, one of their accountants sent an email to me saying he needs a timesheet. And my first reaction might have been bad, saying, think what you're writing, there's no timesheet for a retainer. But I said, okay, I don't want to be nasty, So I put, the information of ChatGPT, and I said, I write a mail to his boss, to make it. And I showed the email to my wife. My wife said, but that's not you. I said, I don't care. It was solved in 5 minutes. Rather than having a nasty exchange, in 5 minutes, I got my money. So that's the point. It may not be you, but it's more efficient sometimes.
So ChatGPT would be like a time machine, right?
Yeah.
For us.
And normally, ChatGPT has been programmed to be nice. So you can try. It's going to be difficult to ask ChatGPT to write a nasty mail. It's going to tell you should not do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm making jokes. I have a friend, who was betting that he's going to get married this year. So I put ChatGPT and I ask, what are the key steps and all that. So ChatGPT give you kind of more like a wedding list, what you should do, and then I say, yeah, but the issue is he doesn't have a girlfriend. So ChatGPT said, okay, that's now becoming difficult to make it happen within 1 year. And then I had another friend, we were joking about that, so he used my ChatGPT and he wrote, so if I'm betting that is not going to happen, I have a big chance to win. You know what ChatGPT said?
What?
Be careful what you say, because the guy might not like that, because he might be offended, and all that. So ChatGPT was sweetening the stuff and saying, don't joke about that because it may be a serious discussion for him.
I'm going to tell you a secret. I hope that my wife is not listening to this, but I got married this year and I would provide a speech on my marriage. And I was like, okay, I need some help. Let me get on ChatGPT and ask. Of course, I did the test and the speech by myself. But I think the most important thing is that you never need anymore to start on the blank page. You can always have like some kind of pre-work of that, and then you can improve.
And I think that one of my key concerns is still what Daniel said this morning, is for us, we know before and now we can use it. What is the impact for those that are going to grow up with that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
We still can judge it's good, not good, and all that. But if you have only that, are you going to be able to make the difference, and
yeah, that's the same story with the phone, right? We learned how to use it, but there is already a generation that was born with that. Can you imagine the generation that's going to be born with ChatGPT and not ChatGPT 4?
Because I still think, and maybe we're wrong, but I'm just thinking you still need some basis to judge if it's correct, not correct, ethical or whatever, So I think I don't have the answer yet, but for me it's a concern,
And how fast do you think things are going to change in the way that we're seeing? Like we are like in the first 2 years of ChatGPT and there's a lot of thing going on, AGI, and how do you think, how is that going to scale?
I think first of all, quicker than we were used to.
Oh, yeah.
So in some area, like, when it's needed, you're happy that it's going quicker because, but it's, the pace of all those changes today is amazing. And that's what I'm saying. That's a challenge also for regulatory and all that, because they are not used to that pace of changes. So the time they will regulate something is already outdated, so they have to learn. We need new skills, new people there, to be able to cope with that pace. On the other side, I had a funny discussion and I just got a post. Somebody tagged me again today on Instagram and something like that. But I had an interesting discussion in Dubai. It was a special closed door event. It was about about psychedelics, in Dubai, but it was people from the US, But that's not a discussion. But there was kind of a well-known guy from California, who was talking about this universal revenue, that we're all going to lose the job. AI will take everything and do nothing, and we have universal revenue. And you know what my answer was?
What?
I said, I'm okay. I'm retired since September 2022, and I never worked as much as now, and I do what I love to do.
That's the point.
So I'm saying I'm okay. If you don't have a job tomorrow, you will still do something. I'm not saying work or not work, but you will do what you love. So what is wrong? You get paid and you do what you love,
Oh, that's impressive.
Because
and
now
it's kind of crazy to think about it.
Yeah. And I'm saying, some people may be shocked, but I think it was one of the founder of LinkedIn who posted, said something, and then one lady from Dubai tagged me on Instagram, because he was saying, by 2034, the 9 to 5 jobs are not going to exist anymore.
Can you imagine that?
And again, for me, it's okay. I don't care,
Yeah.
if I can do
I'll be okay if I could wake up a little later
and do what I want to do, so.
Yeah. Oh, I would like to let a message for all the physicians that are listening to us. If you could give them one last advice to face all this new change that we're gonna face, what that would be?
So first of all, as said, I'm not a supporter of saying, I hate this AI against doctor. It's AI for doctors, and they should embrace it and see how much it can help them. And it doesn't saying, and don't talk to people that have not tested it. If you just because I read or whatever, test it and then you judge, and then it's okay if you say, I don't like it, you don't like it. But for me, it can be a big support for them to help them in their daily job, even being simple stuff. And they should embrace it and not resist it. Of course, it's always difficult, because that's the point about getting out of your comfort zone. So not everybody is ready to get out of the comfort zone, but the changes are happening if you get out of the comfort zone. So I really think, that's one of my key message, and try it, I said, I'm not saying everybody should use it for the same, some people may use it for that, some people may use it for that, but I tell you that I personally gained a lot of productivity with AI.
Me too.
I could not do all what I do today without AI.
And I can't imagine my life right now without AI. Thank you so much, Philip. It was amazing here. Amazing keynote. And thank you for your audience. And we see you soon.
Thank you.